Grant Cardone tells you that you should never buy a house under any circumstances, that it is a bad, I repeat, B-A-D, bad investment. Dave Ramsey tells you that you should buy a home, and John Hope Bryant, whom I like. And again, I have nothing against any of these guys. I've learned a lot from each one. To each its own. So Grant Cardone says don't buy a home. Dave Ramsey says you should buy a home because it's your best investment. And Grant says don't buy a home because it's your worst investment. Now, you get to make your own decision. That's the best part of this life, is you get to choose what you want to do. This, however, is how I believe it should go when it comes to buying a house. I don't believe that owning a home is a bad thing, like Grant Cardone. I don't believe that owning a home is a good thing. I know. I'm in the gray area, and I'll explain in a second. I don't believe that owning a home is a bad thing or is necessarily a good thing. Grant says don't own a home because homes, is a liability based on the rules of cash flow. I 100% agree with that. If you live in the house and the mortgage payment is made out of your bank account, from your paycheck, from your job, then yes, it is a bad investment because it is a liability, not an asset. I know the banks tell you it's an asset. It's not. It's their asset. It makes them money. It does not make you any money. It's your liability, but that's okay. That's okay as long as you know what it is. I'm not telling you give up your house or sell it. Dave says you should buy the house because the house is a good investment. It goes up in value. And if you bought a house within the past 2 years, you'd be hard-pressed to find any positive equity. So what do I say? I say, first of all, I say to each its own. If you want to be a homeowner, you're welcome to. If you want to rent until you die, you're welcome to. Here's what I say, and this is based off what I've been through in my personal experience. And if you guys agree or disagree, that's fine. Just let me know in the comments. If you agree or disagree, let me know what you think. I bought a house in 2020, and this is why I say all of this. I bought a house in 2020. We bought that house. Houses were affordable then. Blah, blah, blah. We bought a house in 2020. Beautiful new house here in Dallas. Amazing home. Love it. We miss it. We sold the house in 2022. We made a bunch of money. House was great. We missed the house. We're renting now. We're building a new house, yes. And I kind of gave y'all a clue into where I'm going to lean. We are building a new house. But here's what I say. I say this. By the way, before I say what I say, hit subscribe, hit thumbs up. Welcome to the channel. Really quickly, if you want to learn how to make money using your phone and build a business in 3 to 6 months from your phone, only from your phone, without having to leave your house, doing the things you want to do throughout your day and enjoying life, making money, living life on your own terms without having to do any hard work, then you need to learn how to do 3 things. Book customers, take deposit, dispatch. Book, deposit, dispatch. It's so easy. Book, deposit, dispatch. See, I told you it was easy. I'm doing a free live training. You need to get in that free live training. This is going to be my last one for the year. Get into it ASAP. Put the word middleman in the comments below to get the link. Or if you're in a hurry, just click the link that's in the video description below. Hit subscribe, hit thumbs up. Welcome to the channel. I'm Shon-Jhon, the Middleman CEO, but none of that's important. What's important is what I'm about to tell you next. Buying a house, in my opinion, it's not a good idea. It's not a bad idea. It's a gray area idea. Here's where the gray comes in. Here's what we learned, because we bought a house and we didn't know this, but now we're buying and building the second house a different way. The only thing, because people ask a bunch of questions before they buy houses, these are the wrong questions. The only thing that you should be asking, the most important question you should ask yourself before you buy a house is this: how am I going to pay for it? Yes, that is the $1 million answer, and that's the question you should all be asking, is how am I going to pay for this? And here's why I start and preface with that. If you are going to buy your house, if you see a house, you get approved for a house, whatever the case, you like the house, you want to get into the house, the first question you should say is, how are we going to pay for this house? If the answer to that question is with a paycheck from a job, no, do not under any circumstance buy a house with a paycheck from a job. Here's why, and let me know in the comments if you agree or disagree, but this is just my opinion. Here's why. Because if you buy a house with a paycheck, it's a 30-year mortgage. That's number one, 30-year obligation. death pledge, but we're not going to call it what it really is. Just going to call it mortgage because nobody can sell a death pledge. 30-year mortgage, right? Well, here's the question. How are you going to pay this mortgage for the 30 years? Remember, I told you that was the most important question. You're going to say paycheck from my job. All right. How long is the mortgage? 30 years. How long do you need a paycheck? 30 years. Where do you get paychecks from? My job. You need a job to give you a paycheck for 30 years to pay the mortgage. You need a job to give you a paycheck to pay the mortgage for 30 years. That is a long time to trade life for money to pay for a liability. Well, Shon, it goes up in value. It doesn't always. Look around. There's not much positive equity out there right now. People can tell you, if you bought a house within the past 2 years, chances are you didn't make any equity. So that's not always true. Houses don't always go up in value. Well, it's better to buy than to rent. Depends on what you can afford, depends on how you're going to pay for it, and depends on what you're going to do with that extra money. A better way to buy a house, because I told you the worst way to buy it is with the paycheck. Again, if you're going to buy a house and the paycheck is the way you're going to pay for it, don't do it. Here's a better way. A times C equals L. A times C equals L. A times C equals what? Asset times cash flow equals liability. Asset times cash flow equals liability. Never forget that. ACL. Not the ligament in your knee. Asset times is the ligament in your bank account. That's what it is. Asset times cash flow equals liability. What does that mean? That means before you go and buy the house with the paycheck, pump the brakes. Here's what I want you to do. Take some of the money you were going to use for the house. Use it to buy, create, acquire, build an asset. Invest in an asset. Get an asset. It could be a business. It could be an investment fund. It could be partnering with a friend in a business. It could be stocks. It could be bitcoins. It could be a vending machine. It could be anything. Get the asset first. That's the A, asset. Then wait until the asset produces C, cash flow. It may take 6 months, may take a year, may take 90 days. We don't know, but be patient. Asset, produce cash flow. Then, when the cash flow is enough to pay for the home, then and only then do you go and buy the liability, i.e. the house. Asset times cash flow equals liability. If they teach this in school, there would be so many people that would not be in bad debt over home ownership, loanership, because you never own it. Ever. Well, Shon, it's better to rent than own. You rent anyway. There's no such thing as you're not renting. But I own the house. But you rent the land through property taxes. Stop paying and find out if you own the house. You don't. But I got a mortgage. I own it. No, you don't. The banks own it. The lender own it. You rent it from them by paying a mortgage for 30 years. Duh. You guys should know this. You're smarter than that. So, again, at the end of the day, asset times cash flow equals liability. So you can go with Grant Cardone, you cannot buy a house. I'm not telling you to do that. You could go with Dave Ramsey and you could buy a house thinking it's going to go up in value. I'm not telling you to do that. I'm telling you that if you want to buy a home and you want to be a homeowner, whatever that is, then if you're going to do it, just use the cash flow from the asset to pay for it. That way, if anything happens to your job, and it will, you don't lose your house. If you're paying for your house with your job and you lose your job, now what? You're going to say, man, I wish I would have developed something while I had a little extra change to do something. Exactly. So do it now so you won't have to do it later. It's better to have and not need than to need and not have. Right? It looked like it's going to rain today here in Dallas. I got my umbrella. If it doesn't, I'm still prepared. It doesn't matter. Let me know if you agree or disagree. For those who want to be in the free live training, the last one of the year, if you don't get the invite, that means we're full. So move quickly. Put the word middleman in the comments below, and I'll see you in the free live training. Everybody else, have a wonderful, blessed day.